Yo, what about the eunuchs?
I mean,
imagine.
Okay, I'm imagining,
bro.
I don't. Should I imagine?
Imagine not having your genitalia.
Okay.
It'd make it really easy to be single. That's for sure. Like, I wonder if you just don't feel anything.
I mean, but like,
I wonder if you like.
I don't know if that would make it easier.
You just don't feel
people
anything.
date all the time without disclosing that type of information about themselves. When you think about it, you know.
But it does
Should
also
they-
drive. It also
should
drives
they?
a lot of their.
That's a
It also
question mark.
drives a lot of their attraction.
Oh, absolutely.
'Cause of the
Hormonally speaking.
Right. So if you just don't have a member, do you just not like have? What is it like? I can't. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, you could still obviously care for someone, have a good, purposeful relationship, all of that, and I mean, people that happens to people while they're married for all kinds of reasons. So,
But I'm saying willingly subjecting yourself to not having.
oh, this is intentional. Is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Okay.
I'm just saying, if we're trying to be single forever out here, we should just make it easier, right? Just get it all lumped off.
Except maybe self-discipline is part of the point.
Or just get it lumped off. Episode 1, man. Nobody knows. Podcast. Super excited. Wins, of course.
Spencer Bolio.
Absolutely. Together we are nobody. Get your
Shop
merch.
nobodymerch.com.
We can't buy that.
It's actually not a website, but
But myself wins. I'm not gonna give you my government. You have to look it up on Google. Spencer here are pretty eligible bachelors, I would say. High value men.
that's us. We've been working on ourselves.
Golly.
Yeah.
Sheesh. High value men. We're not gonna get into that. Maybe we could, but
Maybe for another week.
funny topic. But anyways, nah, man. We've obviously come together. We've been together for not as a couple. You freaking clickbaiters. But we have been a part of this duo, Nobody, for a little bit now, and so we're just out here, two young men living that single life.
That's the title of this episode. Well, something about single life.
Why would he do that? See, I was trying to get away from actually saying the title, but here we are.
Clickbait.
But yeah, man. So when it comes to being single, would you say that, do you enjoy it? Do you enjoy it more than you would imagine yourself enjoying a relationship at this time of your life?
Man, that's hard. I think for me, I've only been being completely transparent. I've only been single. I've never had a serious relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But the closest thing I could actually think to it is like visiting family, like visiting my sister. When I go there, it's like we share a car, we share everything, we have to coordinate everything together.
Yeah.
And obviously I love her because she's my sister and we enjoy hanging out. But like, it's crazy. I didn't expect how crazy it would be to feel like when you have to run like everything you do by someone else. You know what I mean? Like just almost everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that could be very...
If anything, it showed me like how much I think about myself or like selfish I can be, because it's like I just don't include other people in my decisions. And when I have to, it's annoying and frustrating.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would probably be a little bit of a issue in a serious relationship, I would say.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah. But I also loved that, and then imagining like the commitment and team building with someone where you can actually, as they say, build a life with someone. And
yeah, I mean, and I think that's something to really consider realistically, is as like you're building a life with someone. If you imagine when people go in to build houses, you have even a team has to work on like the foundation. Like typically one person can't even just do that, and obviously as things get probably more complicated or depending on the size of the house, right? It's like you have to have more than one electrician possibly to wire the entire, you have to have more than one person building the roof.
Yeah.
So it's like there's always some level of communication, even on these little things that you would think would be insignificant or that one person could do. It's like there still has to be like cohesiveness. But if you're by yourself, you don't really have to even think about that necessarily because your decisions are going to immediately affect you, not immediately affect someone that's not in your life daily.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the advantage in that in regards to having to run everything by someone is it makes you like question why you do what you do, be more self-controlled, be more considerate of other people. But then the downside is like, what if the things that you wanted to do or you think are good to do, what if those things are actually the best thing for you to do and this other person is just keeping you from that? You know what I mean?
Sheesh. Yeah. And I think that kind of brings into focus like the one thing I do enjoy a lot about being single is that I really like my time when I'm not doing things like work or even leisurely things, working out, things of that nature. I really just enjoy my time just in my room. I just, me, I chill, bro, heavily. So
Half the time I call you, you're like on the floor.
Right. I'm just like laying on the floor or something, bro. Just chilling, bro. Just, So I really do enjoy being able to just have my time and being able to kind of dictate if I do decide to outsource that time in any type of way, I get to determine what that is and to what level that is. And I think that when you are not single, that becomes it just becomes different. I won't say challenging, just different,
Yeah.
Because you have to consider, even if I wanted to go kick it with my bros or something, I still have to consider, my significant other's thoughts behind that, or maybe I haven't spent that much time with them that week, or, I have to actually consider these things, whereas being single, I don't. It's like the boys hit me up and I'm gone,
Yeah. And that's not, as Jordan Peterson would say, that's not insignificant.
Right. Because it's important. It's important to have it. I will say too that, if you are using the time that you have as a single person to really reflect on self, actually reflect on self, not like the, quote unquote, I'm working on myself, when really it's like you just are avoiding relationships so you don't actually have to face yourself. Because relationships are definitely going to bring up those things in you that you have not.
Yeah, like only
faced.
so much spa time is going to help you reflect on your life.
I'm gonna go on a mountain retreat and I'm gonna come back a whole different person. It's like, yeah, but you're not gonna face all the potential traumatic issues and things of that nature that you faced, and lack of communication and inconsistency.
Once you go back to your normal environment.
Once you go back to your normal environment.
Yeah, for real. But
so I have had a lot of time, I would say, to like look at myself. I've done a lot of relationship probably not correctly due to those things, growing up and stuff like that affected it. So I think that being single for the amount of time that I have been has actually been pretty beneficial in a lot of ways, because I have had to. It's like you either have two options when you're single. You distract yourself with a bunch of things in the name of being busy, and in the name of being busy and successful and progressive, and not actually do the inner work that is so much required for relationship of that nature.
Oh, like for not being single, like the work that's required to be successful when you do commit to someone? Is that what you're saying?
But I mean, even just relationship in general, it's like it's having a work relationship versus having a significant other or someone that you're working towards that with is totally different. You can be super, like assertive and have very clear walls, boundaries, whatever terminology you want to use there in a work relationship, unless you allow for those to be crossed. In a relationship with a significant other, it's like you're already letting them into a vulnerable space, or vetting them or whatever to be allowed into a vulnerable space in your life. That's like the point. Whereas a work relationship, that's not the point. So being a single person, it's like you can easily either go through life and get yourself busy, get your degree, get these things, boom, 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 check these goals, and continue to do these things to give yourself a sense of accomplishment, which you are accomplishing things. However, when you get into a relationship of that sort, a lot of those things may not necessarily 100% matter. They will at a level, but they won't necessarily attribute 100% to the complete success and functionality of a healthy relationship.
Okay, because everyone agrees usually. Everyone's like, I'm not materialistic, or I don't want, and I like to think that I'm not, and I'm sure there are ways that I am that I don't realize I am. You know, like most people, because I've never had everything gone before, so I can't like tell you how much I appreciate it.
Right.
However, a lot of people, they talk about how they're not materialistic, but then if they focus on their career and certain goals for their lives, that, people say like, I'm building this kingdom, but now I have no one to share it with. That type of question.
That's such an interesting phrase to say too. On the other side, it's like, so you basically just said you built this kingdom, or you're building this kingdom, but you've been thinking about, the whole time you've been thinking about the fact that you don't have anyone to share it with. It didn't just like hit you at that point.
Right, yeah. Like it had to have been gnawing at you for a little bit.
It's almost like you're saying, it's almost like you're kind of expecting someone to feel for you when you say that.
Like you could have made that a focus, but it just wasn't, and now you need sympathy.
It wasn't, and that's your choice. Like,
yeah,
which is okay. It's okay to make that choice, but I think that's the thing too, is that people make choices like what you're saying.
Yeah,
which is okay, but there's still some sort of effect to that,
well, this
whether
goes back
immediately and later on.
Like what you were saying earlier about how, like, are you doing what you're doing now when you're single to be like prepared for a relationship, if that's your goal? And I think like you seem to say that you weren't just talking about a romantic relationship, but you were like, are you doing what you need to do to be like good in any relationship, good at having good friendships, good everything?
Yeah, knowing what I don't think I truly do not think if you don't do the inner work that you even understand what a friend is. Like a lot of we've had this conversation before where I don't call everyone my friend. Like I call you my friend. I call you my brother. Like that's the relationship that we have. But that relationship has been, and those relationships aren't necessarily proven just through time.
Right.
I've known so and so since I was a kid. That does not mean that they're your friend.
Yeah.
But you hear people say that often. Like I've known so and so for 15 years, and it's like, yeah, that's cool. That doesn't necessarily dictate the level of sacrifice that they would be willing to make for you as a human being, as a friend, as a brother, whatever you call them. But a lot of people don't even understand. I don't personally think the depth of that term, especially as a single person. I feel like as a single person, if you don't learn to be able to pay attention to the depth of a relationship, what it is, the function of it, the purpose of it, I think if you don't do these things, and I think a lot of that does stem from the inner work, you have a lot of people that are friends with people just because they have common interests, and that's like their friend or their BFF, and it's like just because they have common interests, not because they actually have common life paths or
like purpose,
right?
And like there's.
But these are your closest friends.
The friendship.
But these are like your closest friends too, and that's to me personally, that would be a little unsettling. They're like all my closest friends are just my closest friends because we have certain common interests or we grew up together. And that's the only reason they're my closest friends. That's just kind of to me. Now, I have a different view than others. I'm sure as it pertains to friendship, but over time, I was someone that used to be very, very naive and very much like, oh, why would a person that says they're my friend do something that's not friendly to me? Why would they do that? Like, I was very like whimsical about that. Whereas now it's like, I'm an adult. Obviously, I've went through some things. You experience some betrayal. You experience some not great friendships, and then you realize, well, it's partial. I don't blame them. for the access I gave them to my emotions and my vulnerable space. Like, that was my bad.
Yeah.
So I have to be better. Okay, so what is it in me that's lacking as a singular person in my space that I would latch to something like that, or allow something like that to exist in my space at that level?
So are you kind of saying that? I don't want to fill in your words, but
no.
Are you like kind of saying that a lot of the point of working on yourself is yes for yourself, but it's like so that you can actually have good relationships with other people,
Bro,
and it actually helps everyone else.
The world literally is a bunch of relationships, like work relationship. At whatever level they are, they're relationships. All of it, from work to the. I mean, if you see your male man, whatever, come by every day and you say what's up, that is an acquaintanceship, whatever you want to call it. But you are acquainted with said person, so at some level, all these things are relationships or acquaintanceships or something. You can define all of these things, but a lot of people define these things loosely or just like very frivolously. It's not.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if you don't, for lack of a better word, work on yourself, like, figure out your own insecurities and why you do what you do and all that stuff, then you won't have as deep relationships with other people, and then you won't be able to recognize what like true deep friendship or relationship is, and then you
100%.
you might see something like an acquaintanceship as a friendship, just because you don't know what deeper healthy friendship is, right?
And then when they do something, because you've probably put friendship expectations on them, so then when they do something that's not what you would say is friendship or what a friend would do, you're going to take, that's going to hurt you or bother you or throw you way more off kilter than it would have if you would have recognized what that relationship actually is.
Like they stole your pet turtle.
Yeah, man. Vicious.
Yeah.
But you would be like, oh, I would never expect my friend to steal my pet turtle. And it's like, yeah, well, if you were actually paying attention to them the whole time, they actually stole a couple people's pet turtles, told you about it, and you laughed. But you weren't worried about your pet turtle because you thought they were just that close to you. You were an exception to the rule because y'all are friends, or you called yourself friends. So I think that obviously as a single person ties into the, I think at least, the advantage. But I mean, there's also the school of thought that getting married young is good.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like I think obviously everyone's different. I do believe that for me personally, had I been in a serious relationship young, I would have destroyed it because of my traumatic experiences and lack of emotional intelligence and understanding. I do think at this stage of my life, not that I would be perfect in a relationship, nor would anyone, but I think my ability to communicate, be understanding, having looked at my own like traumas and different things of that nature, and kind of having an idea of what I do not want to invite into my own environment.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want that for my significant other, obviously. I wouldn't want them to have like this chaotic environment while I have this peaceful one. That just doesn't make sense. So it allows me to look at relationships, whether that's, people I'm cool with, whatever, through the lens of, okay, I have a pretty peaceful, I would say for the most part, a pretty peaceful existence, So the individuals that I invite into that space, I don't want them to take away from that, but I also would not want to bring less than that to them.
Yeah.
So I would want to hopefully bring more, peace to their relationship, or to their life or their environment. So it teaches me what I also would hopefully want to give to someone else, if you actually do the inner work.
Yeah.
Or have those like hard conversations with yourself, or a therapist if you need that, because a lot of people don't know how to. It's hard to have those conversations with yourself and be honest, or have people around you that will have those honest conversations with you and reflect that. So therapy is actually a great thing, I think, for a lot of people to understand themselves, because the more you understand yourself and these things, the less you will fall into these snares that yourself and your mind and your subconscious will set up.
Yeah, if you want to not stay single than go to a therapist. Both my parents are therapists, and I've never had a
advantage.
serious relationship. So,
But that's the thing. It's like you, yeah.
no,
It's
I
facts,
think
though.
a
It's
big
facts,
reason
though.
why though, like a big part of that is like the more ready you are for a committed relationship to have it be healthy, the more you don't like. The more ready you are, the less desperately you're going to like
Yeah.
be craving one. Even
Yeah.
even if you know that that's what you want.
Yeah, I definitely.
like a-
I'd be lying to myself if I said I did. I would not. I would not appreciate a relationship
Yeah.
at this point in my life.
Yeah.
However, I don't chase it though. I don't like chase relationships, and that's not because or those type of relationships. And that's because there are a lot of things that I am able to execute well as a single person. You know, and again, it makes it because I've done a lot of things as a single person for a while, whether that's traveling,
Yeah.
you know, trying to maintain my living space, whatever it is by my, you know, as a single person, it's like when other people are thought of in that way, that could maybe be in that space, I can look at it very, you know, objectively and be like, well, okay, they have this and this and that, which is great, but that directly conflicts with this, which is a foundational, very important thing within my life. And so that can't be something that goes to that point.
Yeah.
It makes you have the hard conversations with yourself versus like, oh, I just feel like this is the best thing for me. I just feel like they make me happy all the time. I just feel like we have fun all the time. So I'm willing to forego the productivity or the peace or the focus of my singleness for this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, does this person enhance purpose in my life? You know? And realistically, at a level, when you do get into that relationship, you're going to, because they're not your wife right away, right?
Right.
Or your husband, if, you know, obviously you're, a woman in this sense. But I'm just saying that they're not that right away. So there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to learn how to now divide your time between these things.
Yeah.
Less of it won't 100% be able to be your, like I can't 100% devote all of my free time to music if I have a significant other. I'm going to have to devote a level of time to them so that they don't feel, or that they know rather, that I care.
Yeah, it's like the appropriate level of priority for the relationship.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, the fortunate thing about being single, I think, is that you do have the ability, if you use it, to really have the hard conversations, take the hard looks at yourself. Hopefully you do that. If you do need the intervention of a therapist to assist you in, you know, digging into those roots, hopefully you do that. I was very fortunate. I had my parents, you know, beliefs and other things like that very much assisted me in that. I should be insane.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But fortunately that's not the case. But it did take a lot of trial and error. I had to learn I would say fortunately, most would probably say unfortunately, but I had to learn a lot of these things through, you know, not the best decision making. And fortunately, I was able to gain some understanding and reconfigure, you know, my thought process towards certain things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And their importance. Like I want a relationship of that nature, but I'm not willing to sacrifice my purpose for something that is not purposeful.
Yeah. No, and I think oftentimes when we think about the people who were like most inspiring or like big role models throughout history, like so many of those people did prioritize something other than like a romantic relationship over like having a romantic relationship. So some of them stayed single like either their whole lives, or like you think of like people talk about like Mother Teresa, although there's probably like Catholic reasons for that. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about like sisterhood in that way. But obviously someone like Jesus, a lot of people, I think. And then you see people that prioritize something like a Martin Luther King Jr.
Where he was able to,
but his relationships kind of like suffered.
yeah.
But he did have a higher purpose.
It's a lot,
than
man.
that, but
It's a lot. Like when you think about people like that, it's like
Yeah.
they were in these world changing, scenarios, where the weight of that, like we were talking about earlier, that affects everyone. That affects your whole. To this day, it probably affects
what does?
Martin Luther King's family members. The pressures
Oh.
that he, along with his what his purpose was ultimately.
Yeah.
It affected his wife. It affected, and you have people that, you even have those conversations you see where people are like, oh, it's Martin Luther King Day. I love Martin Luther King Day. And it's like, y'all realize how hated he was. So like, even if he was around today, y'all probably hate, like, he'd be the same person. So he's going to say the things that nobody's saying. Y'all probably wouldn't like him.
Yeah,
as
I
much.
bet like people would disagree with him a lot on like almost any political side.
Absolutely.
You'd be like, that's not us.
Right. So it's like, so, I remember I sing like I guess a quote from his wife, or I'm not quoting this 100% correctly, but she said something along the lines of like, she's basically like, you guys wouldn't like stop acting like you appreciate him now that he's not here. You probably wouldn't appreciate him if he was like here. Mm-hmm. She didn't say that exactly word for word, but that's like the sentiment. It's like, that's cool that you want to give him a day or whatever, but it's like, you probably wouldn't appreciate him. And I think that's, akin to the pressures of, now granted, everyone's purpose may not look like that magnitude wise, right? But it's like, it's important, even if your purpose is just being, the best engineer you can be. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's a level of sacrifice that comes with that, whether it's the schooling, the work hours, all these types of things. Now it's just determining whether or not that's something that's meant to fund your purpose or be it. And I think as a single person, hopefully you get to discover those things. Single and ready to mingle. Ready to mingle.
Come back next week.